We'll go to Reed and then Bob Pockris. Reed?
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service for Jimmie. Back in 2010, Denny qualified 37th and wrecked early trying to come through traffic. How important is qualifying on Friday, and how much emphasis are you guys going to place on that?
That started on Thursday, by the way. Qualifying is so important. Here it seems that we have a lot of green flag runs. So if you start down on track position and don't have your car right come race day and don't make the most of Saturday, you're going to have a long race and put a lot of pressure on yourself that you don't want. So the weekend really does start in qualifying on Friday. And one thing that's different this year for me than many years coming down here is with the new testing policy, we were able to save a test session and come down. So I feel like we had a very productive test session when we were here, and it should help start, our starting point on Friday and on Saturday be a lot closer than maybe what we've seen at other times. So we're eager to get going, and it does start on Friday.
Go to Bob Pockris, Kenny Bruce, Jim Utter. Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. Jimmy, Chad was talking about how you have the same car from Texas, and it's the 4th time in 8 weeks that you're actually running this car. Do you have any input on what car he brings to the track, and do you have, like, what do you like about this car, and do you have a name for it?
There's no name. We just go off a number system with the car, and the car, I think I ran in Dover earlier in the year, and the car performed very well. In Michigan in August, I crashed in practice in our primary car, and this car was a backup. And we got it on the track, made a few laps, and right away, there's just something that felt really good about it. We don't know why. I mean, we look at all the numbers from Aero and all the things that go with it, all the tools that we have to measure what's going on with the race car, and there's nothing that stands out, but it just feels better. It's a more comfortable car for me to drive, and that alone is what kept this car in rotation and why we're bringing it back. The performance at Texas and Dover the second time certainly helps, but I told Chad after the Michigan race, let's put this one on the side and use it as often as possible in the chase, so I had a lot to do with it.
Go to Kenny Bruce, Jim Utter, and Melinda. Go ahead, Kenny.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. For all three of you guys, it's been mentioned this is the 10th year of the chase, and I just wonder what your opinion of the chase format is, what you like about it, and if there's anything you don't like about it, what might that be?
I think it's great to have our sport relevant to others, and the fact that we have a playoff system. So I think that's one key component.
Matt?
I like, I guess if you're running well and you have, you feel like you have a solid team and a solid year going on, it kind of gives you some, some mulligans early in the year. You can have some bad races, have some things go wrong, and kind of still get reset when you get to the chase. The thing I don't like about it is there's one guy that thinks he has to win every single one of them. Doesn't leave much for the rest of us.
Kevin?
I agree. I like the format. Things I don't like about it are the same racetracks year after year. I think it would help our schedule, would help some of the racetracks, help build some excitement around some different racetracks, and I think there needs to be a road course in it. So I think to keep it mixed up, I think. You didn't think you could drive on the short tracks either. Then you win them all. But I think there definitely needs to be some things mixed up in it. I think the format is great, but I think the tracks need to change on a yearly basis.
We'll go to Jim, Melinda, and then to Chris. Jim?
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Kevin, you've mentioned several times this season about people writing you off at the beginning of the year. I was just curious, at the time, obviously, you didn't know what all was going to transpire this season, but why were you so confident that you and Gil and Richard would be able to go through this season and basically not have things fall apart?
Well, I think, obviously you look at Martinsville and I wish, that whole situation hadn't transpired, but I think from the time we moved from it, I think we had conversations and talked about a lot of things, and you realize it makes you really think about things that have happened in the past, and then, just talking amongst ourselves with Richard and myself, and you realize how successful we've been in the past. But along with that process, you also think about all the mistakes you've made along the way and the things that you would have done different. And so we've been through a lot of scenarios that were a lot tougher than starting with my job ending after this week at RCR, and the way that it started at Atlanta, or really Rockingham in 2001. So we'd been through a lot of hard situations before, and had committed to each other to fulfill our commitment throughout the year. And the guys in the shop, they don't care. It's I always tell people it's just as hard to run last and just as much work to run last as it is to run first. So those guys were all on board, and everybody knew the scenario. And in the end, for the company, our car had to run good. They have a lot of change and a lot of things going forward to make right. No matter who drives it, what number's on it, the car needed to perform well this year. So it had to have the right amount of effort. They couldn't just write it off and hope for better things next year. So it's it's still probably the most stressful year on the racing side that I've ever had, with all the different scenarios and different things going on. But in the end, you put all that aside, and you get to do what you like to do in the race car, and be around the guys in the garage that really don't care about the politics. They don't care about contracts. They don't care about scenarios. They put 12 hours, 7 days a week, sometimes more, into those cars, and they want to see them perform, and they don't care about the rest of it. So that's really what drove me, were the guys on my team. And they look at you and expect you to get in that car no matter what's happened. They expect you to get in that car and give it 100%, even though it's a rule.
Let's go with Melinda. Excuse me, Melinda, and then Chris.
Melinda Adams, ESPN. I have a question for Matt and for Jimmie. First, Matt, just sort of talk about Phoenix, and you were having such a great season, still had such a great season, and how devastating last week was.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a really poor performance, all around. It was probably our worst performance of the year, and really Kenseth came at really a worse time. So, but on the other hand, that says a lot about our season and how great our season has been. That was our worst race, and I shouldn't say we still ran 23rd or wherever the heck we finished, because that's obviously terrible. But it was it was a tough week. We went back and tried to figure out what went wrong. We think we got a handle on what went wrong. Try to figure it out, for the next time. But certainly wanted to win the year of the championship, and we still have a chance to do that if everything plays out right, or plays out right in our favor, I guess. But either way, it's been obviously an incredible year. It's been probably the best year of racing I've ever had in my career. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great change, personally and professionally. I've had a great time this year. I'm looking forward to this weekend and closing the season out, and I'm already looking forward to next season as well.
And for Jimmie, what would winning a 6th championship mean?
I don't know. We'll see if I'm fortunate to be in that position at the time. But I'm just focused on getting in the car and doing all that I can on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and minimizing mistakes and all those types of things. I've really tried hard not to go down that road and think about those things. I think it'd be a mistake. Got to focus on Sunday's race and do my best job then, and then what happens after that, we'll all find out.
Go to Chris and then to George. Go ahead, Chris.
Sir Kevin, Chris Green, South Dade Newsletter. Do you feel like you're at a bit of a disadvantage because the two guys next to you were at the test earlier in the month?
Not really. We went and tested at Texas and didn't run very well, and he went and tested at Texas and went and dominated the race. So, but if we do everything that we've done, I feel like this is probably the best car from an aero standpoint that they brought to the racetrack. But we might hit a few bumps in the road to start the practice, but I think we'll be fine.
Let's go to George and then to David Carabello. George?
Yeah, George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel. For Jimmie, I know you just said obviously you don't go down the road in terms of thinking championships, but somewhere down the road, but perhaps before, have you thought of your place in NASCAR history in terms of, I want to get to Richard Petty's, reach 7, 8, whatever? Are there goals in your mind that you do have in terms of long-term as you move forward in the sport.
No, no. I've not been one to look at stats and pay attention to what's been ahead of me and have used that for motivation. And I honestly think a lot of it's due to the fact that I didn't win a lot growing up, so I didn't grow up thinking that way. And things have changed dramatically since I got involved with Hendrick Motorsports and pairing with Chad Knaus and what we've been able to do on the track. And of course, yes, I would love to win this year. I'd love to win a 7th or an 8th. I mean, you just go on and on. So, I mean, that's what you would want to do. Is it realistic? I have no clue. And honestly, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. I have a friend that told me something that does stick in the back of my mind. And I try to think a little bit and dream, because he told me that limits begin where the vision ends. So with that statement, there needs to be a vision of some kind, but I'm really one that lives in the present and focuses on each week, and that's just the way I've been. You just show up at each racetrack each week, 36 or 9 of them, depending on how you count the races go by, and you hope you have a shot at the end.
Our time in this segment is approaching an end, so we're going to take 2 more questions. David and then Jenna. Go ahead, David.
David Caravello, NASCAR.com. Guys, this is clearly a sport that's undergoing a youth movement to a certain degree, and yet you look at Crafton, he's 37, Sam's been around for a while, and the 3 guys left standing here are all middle-aged guys with kids. What does that say about the ability to compete at the highest level as you go forward in age in this sport?
Well, I think I'm thinking of Jimmie Johnson and something I saw on television where he didn't want a driver until he was in his 30s. So I think generations before us, Terry, Dale Sr., there were some older champions, and most of them are older champions. So there's really something for experience in our sport, and it really makes a big difference. Youth is important. Jeff Gordon won at a young age. We need it in our sport, and it's very important. But championships are so hard to get. And I think all of us, and I remember saying it myself, getting started, that I would trade my age for experience any day. There's just so much you learn over the course of a career and a decade in the sport now. Just so much better as a competitor, and we're able to prolong our careers much longer than stick and ball sports. So I think mentally we're all getting into a very strong period of time. That's probably the biggest thing.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Okay. Finish up right here with Jenna. Go ahead, and then we'll keep going.
Jenna Fryer, AP. That was sort of my question. The past Contenders press conferences have been a little more exciting in terms of I was reminded when Kevin leaned in and said that for Denny it started on Thursday when you guys messed with him the entire time, and there was a little bit of that with Brad, but you guys are kind of like a bunch of old boring dads up there, and nobody's trying to play any mind games or anything like that. Is that because you guys are just steely veterans or been there, done this before?
Or maybe because he's ahead by 28 points? If he was building his own engine, I'd be messing with him right now.
So the old boring dads, how did the one before this go with the young kids? Did they pick on each other at all?
Somebody here tweeted it would have been better if Sam had worn a white cowboy hat.
They could have had a...
All right, we're not going to end on that question. Let's go with Alan right here. Get Alan a mic, could we, please? Thank you. Be final question right here.
Yeah, right. Alan Cabana, NASCAR.com. Kevin, this is for you. I was just looking at your finishes. In 9 races, you have 2 wins and 7 top 10s. Do you ever think about, what the heck do you have to do to win a championship? You're still 34 points back. Do you wonder about that?
We were talking about this earlier. I feel like we've, as a team, done better than what we've done in the past as far as the chase goes with winning, which was what we felt like we needed to win a race or 2 in the chase. But, I think we've averaged like a 7.5 throughout the chase, and I felt like after we left Loudon that we knew that one of these guys was going to have one of those chases that was going to take a 4 or a 5 to average finish to make it happen, and probably going to win a few races. as they went through the 10. So we knew going in that we couldn't make any mistakes because, you know, you're racing against guys that have had a great year and capable of winning every week. And so, you know, we knew when we left Loudon that we had made a big mistake, but that's just the way it goes, and you just have to race every week, and we've had a good chase. Well, that's his fault. I mean, he set the bar that high, and you know, Carl lost it with what was his average, 5.2 or 3 or something. So, you know, it takes 10 weeks to put them all together.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. At this time, this will conclude our Q&A with Kevin, Matt, and Jimmie.